Had a big fire here. I'm not at home. I'm with family. Probably about an hour and a half from where I live. And as I'm heading back to my family member's house to stay here last night, excuse me, I see the signs of a fire, a big fire, just on the other side of the hills, close hills. And by the time I got back to where my family member lives, it was huge. It exploded up to 500 acres. They're bringing in the helicopters and the tankers and all that kind of stuff. And I'm sitting there, I'm videoing it all. I captured it all while it was happening in real time. And posted it on my YouTube page if you want to see it. youtube.com/CharLee Simons, CharLeeSimons. You got to spell it right or you're not going to find me. And it's like 27 minutes of everything. You can literally see the fire cresting over the hill and starting to come down into where I was. Freaky. It's now exploded over 2,500 acres. But it has shifted. It's moved south. It's moving south. And I have friends in a town that it's heading right for. And they sent me a text saying, yeah, the air is like rumbling with air tankers. And it's a bad situation. In Calaveras County is where it is. Calaveras County. If you know Northern California, that's one of the main areas of the gold rush, 1849. Sutter Creek, outside of Jackson. And there's here in Calaveras County, where I still am, there is San Andreas, Angels Camp, Murphy's, big place, Columbia, beautiful, old, well-preserved gold rush town. This become a state park, thank God. What's another town? Oh, McCullum Hill. I like McCullum Hill a lot. And Valley Springs. Valley Springs is basically the biggest populated area. Well, no, Angels Camp is bigger. But anyway, suffice it to say, a lot of freaking out going on. And when I got up this morning, I was able to sleep all night. Thank you, Lord. When I got up, I was fully expecting evacuation orders, though. They had already put in evacuation orders for several zones, but not the one where I was. But I was expecting it. And when I woke up this morning, I went out thinking the sky was just going to be filled with smoke. No, clear, blue skies. What the heck happened? The wind shifted. It's sending everything south, unfortunately. For my friends in Copperopolis, I pray for you. Father, please keep them safe. And those who are fighting these fires, keep them safe and let them be effective, Father, against this. In your name, Christ Jesus, amen and amen. There's a proliferation of fires all over California right now. And I've seen video. I actually showed it on the show with on the Charlie and Mike show, which will be tonight, 5:00 Pacific time. But last week, I showed video of an actual piece of crap starting spot fires. He had some kind of flame thing, and somebody videoed it from far away, but they caught, and you see this guy running through foothills. They love the foothills, especially this time of year, because it's now brown, all the grass has died off, and it's just still there, but it's very easy. It's just tinder waiting to go up. So any brush and so on. And we've had excessive heat here in California and the rest of the country. So this is when they strike. Who's they? Are they being paid? Probably. A lot of them are just ideologues. A lot of them are just pieces of human walking, talking cat crap who are starting these fires because they love the drama. They love to see things burn. They love the chaos. But the state of California, not the whole state, not those of us who live here. I do blame the ones who don't get involved and don't vote, though. Yeah, I put that on you. You're not voting. Well, my vote doesn't count. Sit down. Go to register-to-vote.ca.gov. Please get registered and vote this coming November in the midterm election. We've never needed you more than we do right now. Register-to-vote.ca.gov. And please stop saying your vote doesn't count. Because that's a self-fulfilling prophecy when you say that. You're right. It doesn't, because you're not. And you leave the rest of us to just twist in the wind, who are out there saying, please get involved. Please do something. We're dying on the vine. And these pigs are going around starting these fires. I'm not saying it's called the can fire, CANN, the one I just described to you, what happened last night. And I was there. Excuse me. I'm not saying the can fire was started by an arson, but I suspect it was, because they're all happening all of a sudden all over California. Not an accident. There's not been any strikes, lightning strikes. There's been no storms coming through, creating this. These are being started. I'm quite convinced of that. By the way, the state of California makes massive amounts of federal money when we get our acreage burned up. I lost the town that I lived in for many years, Grizzly Flats up in El Dorado County, right at the edge of El Dorado National Forest. Grizzly Flats, town of about 2,000 people, most of them retired. Lost everything. That was back in October 21st, 2021, all during the whole COVID crap. And the way it started, and the direct energy weapons, and so on and so forth, and video and conspiracy theory stuff, it was very nefarious. It was very dirty. 221,000 acres. Leveled the town of Grizzly Flats, just like Paradise, just like Lahaina, Maui. These are being started on purpose. And the state makes money from it. A lot. There's been firefighters who have been busted because they wanted to get paid overtime and extra for fighting fires. They've been busted starting fires. That's real. So that's happening right now in California. They're exploding everywhere. I fight against communism. I am an anti-communist through and through, which means I'm anti-socialist as well. Just did a great show with Dr. Brad Thayer, and he's written a book about the war against communism. And I watched what was happening in Central and South America, Mexico, and then South America. They're predominantly Catholic. Most of those people, that is the religion. And they were doing things that I'm thinking, this is going directly against their faith. Why are they doing this? I've always puzzled that. Here in California and here in the United States of America, all these Catholics who vote Democrat all the time and are quite militant about it. This is going directly against your faith. Why would you do that? Popes, priests, all on the left. So many of them. Why would you do that? This is the party of death. This is the party rooting out life from a woman's womb and supporting it and cheering for it. You're going to be harshly judged. I hope not. I hope you turn around. I hope you give your life to Christ Jesus and you stop your path. But I'm telling you what, man, when it's the day of judgment, I don't want to be standing in line behind you because I want to get in. I don't have to wait there and listen for your whole laundry list of stupid ass things you did all in the name of God. So I've always puzzled why Central and South America is running, galloping towards socialism and communism. Always puzzled over that. But something has changed. There's been a paradigm shift. And people in the media aren't talking about it. Except for me and Arthur Schopper. He's on my show. He's written a great article for townhall.com, and we're going to discuss it right now on Do Not Talk. Are you ready? Hit it. Hey. Yeah, you're in fire-torn Calaveras County right now, broadcasting live. Hello, buddy.
All right. Well, I'm glad that you're still staying safe. Maybe you need to get those jumping frogs. They got to show up. Maybe they can carry a bunch of water inside their gullet.
The way Mark Strap some little water tanks to the jumping frogs of Calaveras County. That's a real deal here, actually. As Mark Twain wrote about the jumping frogs of Calaveras County. Anyway, I loved your article. It was encouraging, greatly encouraging, because the media is not talking about it. I didn't know a lot of what you wrote. Where'd you find it? Where'd you find all this research? Where'd you find all this?
Oh wow, so you always start with Argentine President Javier Milei. I mean, I follow his stuff on Instagram and X, so it's social media 100%. You can follow foreign media, especially in Latin America. They have English language sites, and because Milei has done such an incredible job, Javier Milei, the El Loco, the libertarian economist, big adherent of Austrian economics, who is actually getting the job done, who went super viral across the world when he had that whiteboard of 18 executive departments. We think Washington is bad. In Buenos Aires, they had 18 executive departments, and he just went one after another. Afuera, I'm taking this out.
Firing them. And there was no dirty judges to stop him from doing it.
That is correct, because
he got rid of them too.
Yes, that is correct. Thank you for that. Absolutely. In Argentina and in South America in general, they are sensitive to corrupt judges far more than we are. That is an American liability. It is particularly American. I really do believe this. We tend to hold judges in this extremely high esteem, like they are untouchable, and they really are above politics. And when they make a ruling, it is completely legal.
Never forget, they're just an attorney that got a promotion. They're still just a freaking attorney.
They are bad lawyers in black dresses. That's a common phrase.
It's a good way to put it. I like that.
There you go. What is a judge? A bad lawyer in a black dress. And that's what it is. Many, especially in the state of California, you have lawyers that can't make it, and they don't want to deal with the 9 to 5 or the 8 to 4 grind of a courtroom. They donate enough money to the governor, and then suddenly they get appointed judge. That's literally what happened. I saw this, I saw this on site when I was in the public defender's office in Orange County. That was many years ago. The judges were incompetent. They couldn't even read. They were that stupid, but they had a robe and a gavel, so they thought they were God on earth.
And they don't know the law, but they'll look up a case that's similar from the past, and they'll go, well, this is precedent, so this is how I'm going to rule. I'm not going to put any thought into it. I'm just going to do what that other judge did.
Yep. But in contrast, in South America, I mean, I go back a step to Nayib Bukele. He talks about this at length. They got rid of the corrupt judges. They took them out because they would routinely side with the criminals every time that Bukele and company wanted to get the gangbangers and the cartels running the streets of El Salvador off the streets. They would have judicial activists try to stop them. He says, fine, we're getting rid of you. That has to be our attitude, across the, across North America, but in South America, starting with Javier Milei, going right back to it. I'm sorry I didn't answer your question. Where am I learning about all this? Instagram. I follow Javier Milei, President Milei. He has been reaching out. He's been networking with other center right, right of center, major or hard right, populist right, whatever you want to call it, candidates, and he has helped unleash a political blue wave. Now, for them, it's conservative is blue. For us, red is, conservative is red. But across Latin America, it's blue. So Bukele's
party, it used to be that here too.
That is true. Starting in 2000,
it was the Democrats that did everything they could using the media to switch that because they didn't want to be associated with red China, red Russia, red communism representing. So they literally switched it. It used to be the same here, though, wasn't it?
That's it. I remember getting emails from the RNC. Congressman Dana Rohrabacher, I think with Sean Steele, National Committee man for California, they introduced a resolution to restore the Republican Party as the blue party. They wanted to restore the color. That was in 2012. But it went
nowhere. I'd have to get a new mug. Then I would have to get a new mug. I don't want to see a blue. I'm happy with the red. It's done. Let's stick with it. Thank you for buying one of my mugs, by the way. You actually bought that at my website. Thank you, sir.
I did. I bought it. Nobody held a gun to my head.
You did. I didn't give it to him. I didn't send it to him.
Everybody should know this, so you help him out. So this is what I've been following. And, Milei's incredible reforms are just awe-inspiring. I mean, thinking outside the box, wiping out entire departments. He has fired massive numbers of federal bureaucrats. But what also made him stand out was while you had, going back, this is my article, 20 years ago, this is like 2004, 2006, Latin America was overwhelmed by a pink tide. So communistic governments were swept into power. From Venezuela, 1999, that's when Hugo Chavez was elected, and he brought his communism with him. You saw this with the Kirchner regime, and slightly before that, you had red governments, communistic governments sweeping all over Latin America. We are seeing that tide turn, and this is so engaging. It is so inspiring. In fact, the article I wrote the day before Election Day 2024, I had my slight misgivings. I said, okay, Trump is going to win again. I am slightly confident, but I don't want the specter of communism becoming more concrete every day. I don't want managed decline for this country. I want radical restoration, like what we say, and I mentioned Javier Milei and I mentioned Nayib Bukele. These men took charge, overcoming the most unbelievable political obstacles. They did something we might have to start thinking about. They started their own political parties. Bukele started his own political party. He had to, because the establishment, both sides of the aisle, was so corrupt. Started his own. He was the mayor of San Salvador, and he then stepped in. He took over. He ran on that aggressive law enforcement, public safety platform, and he has delivered. I was so inspired by this. He gave a recent speech and he said, we're really not. I mean, I couldn't believe he was deprecating the successes. You know, he says, we're not really a law and order society yet. We're not quite there yet. See, there was actually some humility to what he said. Okay, the gangbangers are all in jail. There's no more shooting in the street. The homicide rate has plummeted to near zero. But
and it was one of the worst in the world.
Worst in the world. And now
it went from worst to first.
Absolutely. I mean, Americans are moving to El Salvador. Embarrassing. They were, especially under the Biden regime, they were moving to El Salvador. They were settling in El Salvador. And of course, even under Biden's regime, you had immigrants here legally moving back to El Salvador. It was safer there. It was better to live in Latin America than it was to be in the United States. I mean, this is obscene. You had Tren de Aragua running entire apartment complexes in Colorado, and you had the mainstream media like, well, it's only a few apartment complexes. And J.D. Vance would say, Martha, do you not hear yourself? You think this is acceptable? And that was the whole point. And it goes back to the point, the first thing you said, which is corporate media is not talking about this massive right-wing restoration that we see in Latin America. So Bukele's the starting point. That was under Trump, Trump won 1.0, his first administration.
1.0, there you go.
There you go, 1.0. And I do think Trump deserves credit because Trump started with, you can't come here. Sorry, you need to make your country great again. The answer is not to run to America. Boom, wall, no. And that took that off the table for Latin American residents. Okay, if I can't go there and I can't go to Europe, then I guess I better just make the most of it where I am. And that's what people had even been saying during the first Trump administration. They confronted some of these migrants who were all rushing the border. Why don't you go make your country great again? Well, finally, they started doing it. They just needed a better choice. Bukele was the first one, and I haven't had a chance to explore this enough. I hope to do in the future. The spiritual revival. You mentioned the Catholic background, right? Evangelical Christian faith, real biblical Christianity is flourishing in Latin America. Nobody is talking about that. Bukele, I don't know. He's not exactly a religious person, but he acknowledges that he calls upon God's authority, not his own. He relies on biblical truth, not his own. In his interviews with Tucker Carlson before Tucker went woke, he acknowledged it. We literally prayed against the demonic forces of MS-13. MS-13 is a satanic cult. That is a fact. That is not hyperbole. They sacrifice to Satan. They sacrifice people. They bloodlet to Satan. This is
so does Tren de Aragua.
And Tren de Aragua. They are satanic cults, just like Islam. So, and that's why you see the connection between cartels and Islam. That's another story altogether. So Bukele was the starting point. This was a spiritual this was a response to spiritual revival. I know this for a fact. Even at the church I go to, they have missions to El Salvador. This is what really turns things around. The same is true in Argentina. I read this excellent book. It was published in 2022. I can't remember the title now, but this was a Christian author talking about if you want to shape things politically in your communities, you've got to bring the gospel back. And she documented the massive spiritual Christian revivals in Argentina. No, she just mentioned it without thinking about it. This is in 2022. And then you look at 2023 and you had Javier Milei getting elected. This is a radical departure with what Argentines had been dealing with. Absolutely. They had embraced socialism. They acquiesced to it. They acquiesced to hyperinflation, massive government intervention. They just thought this is business as usual. There's nothing that can be done. And Milei was an economist who would talk about free enterprise, Austrian economics, reduction of the state, enhancement of liberty. Viva la libertad, carajo! That was his phrase over and over. Long live liberty, damn it! And he would curse at people and swear he was unswerving in his outrage. He understood you have to go after these leftists. They're not just wrong, they're evil. And he was not afraid to say that. You guys are. So
they're not just misguided. No. It's nothing's by accident. And by us taking out Maduro in Venezuela, that was extraordinary. And if they can end this this domination of these crooked voting machines, Dominion, whatever it's called, whatever the name is, then we have a chance. We have a chance not only in South and Central America, but here in the United States of America. How about Mexico? Mexico's still flailing on the left, though, aren't they?
Mexico is still a lost cause. It's gone from, like if Bernie Sanders were a woman, that's what Sheinbaum is. She is a total leftist. She wants universal health care. She's handing out everything to the illegals. She was one of her first statements, official statements, was to talk about land acknowledgements and stolen land and demanding reparations from the Spaniards. This woman is diabolical, and there is clear. On the surface, the allegations are becoming more prominent. She's basically a puppet of the cartels. It is really bad in Mexico. I mean, it is basically California.
She's demanding reparations from Spain?
Yes, she did. Oh, the arrogance of this woman.
And what?
Yeah, exactly.
Spain colonized Mexico. It was just the Mayans and the Aztecs, basically.
And they were sacrificing each other to the sun god. You want to talk about demonic sacrifice? That's what was going on. Horrible people. Nobody wants to have this discussion, but thank God the Spaniards showed up. There wouldn't have been anything. They would have wiped themselves out. I think that's what happened in Easter Island. You had the indigenous population. They wiped each other out because they were sacrificing each other and just giving into all kinds of evil. Mexico, it's going to be a while. There's a Mexican Republican Party. I kid you not. El Partido Republicano Mexicano. It exists, and they call it Make Mexico Great Again. It's a very small movement right now, but they do exist. The conservative, there's a businessman who is taking over the Conservative Party. I don't know if it's PRI or I can't get the acronyms wrong. There's a chance there, but it's an outsider. He's trying to work his way in, but as things stand, it is a supermajority Congress of leftists with a leftist president. And what do? They pull the strings, they change the rules, they make it impossible to fix things. So who knows what's going to happen? We'll see, unless the public, rises up, because Mexico is a federation of states, just like the United States is. The different local governments, if they have some guts, they can push back. I have read that there are local governments which have allowed people to start carrying a firearm. They have to, because the police can't stand up or are in collusion with the cartels. It's that
many of them very crooked. Yes,
in Mexico. I want to talk about the good, though.
Because they're scared, for one thing.
They are scared, or they're
scared to death. You're going to comply either with gold or with bullets. Yes. That's what the cartels let law enforcement and military know. You are going to look the other way, and you're going to do it for either money or with bullets, one way or the other, and we'll go after your family. It's wicked. I feel sorry for the Border Patrol agents.
It's horrible. And on both sides of the border, incidentally enough. I mean, it's hard to believe, but you have some decent people in Mexico who want rule of law and order working within. They have to wear masks. They have to. People are complaining about Americans law enforcement wearing masks. They have to, because of the threats. In Mexico, they have to wear masks. They have to wear the ski masks. Otherwise, they get killed. This has been going on for decades. It's disgusting. Mexico has serious problems. On the other hand, briefly, the power of cartels, we are seeing them facing the pushback. Who were some of their biggest supporters? Iran and Hezbollah. Nobody wants to talk about this, but you had Middle Eastern terrorists. They routinely linked up with the cartels. They helped push fentanyl into this country. So when people are giving me crap or give us crap about President Trump going after Iran, saying this is not America first, this has nothing to do with anything, that's a lie. These Middle Eastern terrorists have worked with the cartels. They have helped fund Venezuela's corruption and vice versa. They are a big problem. There is a ugly pipeline between terrorists in the Middle East and communists in Latin America. So don't buy that crap for 1 second. It is an essential military effort that President Trump is engaging in. And anybody who's opposed to it, you will also see their connections with supporting more socialism, supporting more collectivism, wanting more handouts from the government. They are talking about, they think of America First as being a neo-fascist movement of some kind. This is destructive and evil, and we've got to stand against it. You mentioned Maduro. There is so much background, though. I mean, President Trump gets the ball rolling. We see the blue wave. Remember, blue for conservative in Latin America. Milei, he has initiated a massive win. And why is he integral to this? First of all, because he's big friends with us. We have formed a free trade agreement, one of the few we have so far, with Argentina. He dropped all the tariffs with us. And his policies are working. Poverty has plummeted. Inflation has tapered down to nothing compared to what it was 2, 3, 4 years ago. It works. He is a public safety maven. He has actually borrowed, he has taken tips from Bukele. He is not the capital L libertarian that a lot of the crazy libertarian geeks were hoping for. He has actually doubled down on law enforcement. He has not decriminalized drugs. He has not decriminalized prostitution. They were hoping he was going to go full capital loser libertarian. He has not done that. That is very smart because it doesn't work. That has been a problem with the libertarian movement, even here in this country. It's like it's been co-opted also by the left. You hear them saying, well, drag queens are okay. It's all about freedom of association. No, it's not. It's child abuse. They'll be saying things like, well, prostitution should be okay. Consenting adults should do whatever they want with their bodies. Okay, then what about the venereal disease? What about the breakdown of law and order? What about the sex trafficking? Come on. This is ridiculous. Milei has found the perfect course, and he has aggressively doubled down on the economic reforms. As we speak.
And it's worked. It's working
and it
beautifully.
Has worked. And that's the point. And that's what because he has succeeded, other right-wing candidates go, I'm going to do what he's doing. And they are winning. I did not even
Let's talk about that. The chat room's open. I got a few people in there. Carol Ann's asking, I just joined. What's the topic? Topic is a great one, Carol. You're just in time. I'm talking with Arthur Schopper, and we're talking about an article he wrote for townhall.com. And it's about the
American Thinker.
What's that? Oh, American Thinker. My apologies. Anyway, it's about communism going away in South America, which is extraordinary. That's what we're talking about. Now, we've talked about Venezuela and El Salvador. Name some of the other countries that were a surprise to me that have really flipped.
This is like a miracle of miracles. This was last year. It was Bolivia. Bolivia has been run by a creepy pedophile communist. It was Evo Morales. I mean, Bolivia was like, forget it. It's over. The cocaine cartels, they run this country. The communists run everything. And you had a guy named, I think it was Edward, forgive me if I get the names wrong. Novoa is his last name. I have to look it up just to make sure I get it right. I got to stop being so sloppy with that stuff. So bear with me. Daniel Novoa. Sorry, he's in Ecuador. So I got the wrong one. I'll talk about Ecuador in a little bit. Let me make sure I get the names wrong because there's so much going on.
Yeah. I mean, and it's happening so fast.
Pardon me.
It's happening really fast.
Forgive me, everybody. His name is Rodrigo Paz. Now, people were trying to push him as, well, he's more of a centrist. But believe me, anybody who is to the right of a communist is right. Okay. And he's been center right. He has put forward a clear public safety agenda. He is not afraid to use the military to go after these cartels. He was elected explicitly on a public safety agenda like Bukele and in a way like Milei, and he's also pushing economic reforms. This was unthinkable that you would have a right-leaning candidate winning in Bolivia, but he did it. And he is pushing through. Economic issues are still a struggle, but he is winning. We see the same thing with Daniel Novoa, similar to Rodrigo Paz, running on a conservative, pro-public safety, pro-economic freedom platform. And he won. This was huge. You had with Ecuador, Bolivia, but I think even the biggest one of these three is Colombia. This year, you had Abelardo de Espriella. I always pronounce them wrong. I got to make sure I get that one. De Espriella. Okay, that's it. I did the best I could there. My Spanish isn't perfect. This guy is hardcore Catholic, hardcore conservative, loves Trump. In fact, President Trump endorsed this guy, Abelardo de Espriella.
Colombia.
In Colombia. And Colombia has been drug cartel, drug trafficking, say hello to my little friend, communist corruption for and he won. And now, okay, so I want to there's a theme I want to talk to, but I want to make sure I follow what you asked me. Like, what other countries? I mean, we got Colombia. Oh my gosh, Peru. Peru has had 9 presidents in the last 10 years. It is a basket case of dysfunction. Communistic left-wing governments had been pushing through. They would always win by the slimmest of margins. They have voting problems. They have similar issues to what we have in California. The tally doesn't get done in a swift or an efficient manner, and it goes back and forth. Who's winning? Who's losing? And then so this year, this was a triumph for the right. It was Keiko Fujimori. Keiko Fujimori, you've got a lady of Japanese descent who just got elected president in Peru. And this is special, too, because her father was Alberto Fujimori. Again, he was born there, but his parents were from Japan. He had the dual citizenship. It still boggles some people's minds. There are a lot of Japanese in Peru. You have a lot of Asians who came to Latin America if they couldn't get into the United States, and they were able to thrive, set up businesses and farms, and even become influential politically. Keiko is to the right. She wants to bring major law and order reforms, wants to bring economic reforms. And who has been in the midst of meeting with many of these new leaders? It's Javier Milei. He has been there supporting them, campaigning with them, propping them up to help them win. That
guy's amazing. Absolutely amazing.
It's amazing. And there's more. I got to add this guy, Jose Cast, another Catholic. Chile had long dictatorship under Pinochet. Pinochet did have economic reforms. He moved to the right. He had school choice, but he was still a dictator. He was finally ousted in a plebiscite in 1986. Okay, he had no choice. People were protesting in the streets. They did it peacefully. It was an amazing shift. People learned how to be free, and they said, you cannot dictate to us anymore. Unfortunately, what happened, I think 4 or 5 years ago, they had another center-right president. His name was Sebastian Pinera, but he was like a rhino. He started moving to the left. He started embracing all the left-wing culture crap. And then you had left-wing forces that were waiting for the right moment to strike. What happened was he had to raise the prices on subway fees like 5 cents. You'd think, okay, prices go up from time to time, but that was like a spark. And what happened is there were protests all over Santiago, Chile, and then you had a left-wing government coming into power, wanting to eviscerate everything conservative, everything that was free market oriented. It was horrific. It looked like they were going to change the Constitution, get rid of everything freedom oriented, Constitution, freedom of choice, freedom of movement, free enterprise, everything. All of that came to a grinding halt last year. This was a huge turnaround. You had Jose Cast started his own, I believe also started his own party. It was him versus a literal communist. And he won in a blowout. And he, like Trump, massive security of the border, cracking down on crime, cracking down on the illegals, cracking down on the cartels. This has been an unprecedented shift in our favor. It's like Donald Trump is getting elected in all these countries. It's just stunning.
Donald Trump's getting elected in all these other countries. There's 2 things that are happening, though, that are really surprising to me. Yeah. One, they're really turning against the whole BRICS thing, which they thought for sure with Brazil being on board. And I don't blame them for wanting to get away from the American dollar, because under the Fed, which I think pray will go away eventually, and we'll go back to a precious metals backed currency that actually is worth something. I pray that that's part of the plan. I believe it is. I hope it is. It's not going to happen overnight, but I strongly believe it's going to happen, and it has to. But with BRICS, what was that Brazil, Russia, Iran, China? What was the S?
South Africa.
South Africa. Thank you. That's right. But these governments in South America are turning against this and going away from that. And the other thing that's really amazing to me is the support for Israel.
Yeah.
That is a dramatic and major turnaround. And it has had a profoundly positive effect, hasn't it?
Yes, this is a huge change. I mean, it shows that we're not seeing just an economic revival. We are seeing a spiritual, a cultural, an ideological, a phenomenal, choose your adjective, change, that this is deeper. Because this was my latest article for American Thinker. As you see this massive rise towards Zionist sentiment, Zionist support, Zionist movement escalating in Latin America, it is inevitable that you see communism pushed out and cast out. I alluded to this. I want to give like the background. But if you don't mind though, before talking about the Zionism thing, I so commend you for bringing up the BRICS thing. That really is huge. I just want to, like, if you don't mind, just really briefly on that. BRICS was a big threat because they wanted to create a different reserve currency. It was going to turn the United States, it's to break the bank of the sickle black slavery. Yes and no, Carol. The fact, though, is that BRICS was about creating a diverse, a different reserve currency to compete and undermine the American dollar. The fact is, if the U.S. dollar ceases to be the reserve currency of the world, we're in trouble. We're going to turn into Zimbabwe because all of this American money that's flowing all over the world, it becomes worthless. It's not up for demand. The demand is gone because they want a different currency. So then you have all these American dollars that are going nowhere. They're no longer in reserve. Guess what? It floods our markets, and that means everything. You'd have hyperinflation. This is a serious problem. This was a serious threat. And the first person who struck a blow against the BRICS, plot, it was President Javier Milei, because Argentina was about to join. They were the next country that was going to join this alternative reserve currency. And Milei said, nope, we're out. He explicitly said, China, you're out. I will not ally with you. If you want to do private business in the country, that's one thing. We will not work with you. He cut off China. He switched gears. He says, we'll help Ukraine. We're going to go against Russia. And this has been a big deal because now even Russia has had to abandon BRICS. The whole project is collapsing. Russia can't even pay its own bills anymore. Don't buy the lie. Russia is losing big time against Ukraine. It is bad. It is really bad. And you know what? Trump deserves a lot of commendation for this because he didn't shovel a bunch of loan money at Ukraine. All it took was a moral order, a trade policy, and a commitment saying, Europe, you need to step up and defend your backyard. They did it, and now Russia's losing big time. Anyway, that's the thing about BRICS. That is really important. Now I can go to the Zionist element of this. This is huge. Going back, let me start with Bukele, because this was my article. I went from Bukele all the way as much as I could through temporal, chronological order. Nayib Bukele, he is the descendant of mandatory Palestinians. His parents were Christians, grandparents in Jordan. So this is under the Ottoman Empire. They had Ottoman passports. So that was, they called it mandatory Palestine. So technically, his grandparents are Palestinians. He flaunts that. So they were Christians. They moved to El Salvador to start a new life. Not everybody could come to the United States, so they went to Latin America. And yet, here he is, the third generation of his family. And he is one of the most outspoken proponents of Israel. Supports Israel, absolutely excoriated Hamas, hates the whole Palestinian cult, and sided with Israel. Even as mayor of San Salvador, he made inroads to the Jewish state. He was opening up trade relations just as the mayor. Then becoming president, he has continued to strengthen that alliance. So that was a starting point right there. The next one absolutely was Javier Milei. He openly campaigned for reinstating relationships with Israel, cutting off all the support for a Palestinian state. And again, this is in concourse with anytime you see any aggressive support for a Palestinian state, you will see a communistic agent or a socialistic one. I will explore that a little further. I want to give you the timeline for now. Milei said, we're going to open up trade. We're going to open up relations with Israel. In fact, this year, they're moving the embassy. They're going to move it from Tel Aviv to
Tel
Jerusalem.
Aviv to Jerusalem. They're doing it too, huh? Wow.
Huge move. Many
Yes.
people still don't understand this. The Palestinian cult at its core is a Marxist cult.
Yeah.
Yasser Arafat, serial pedophile, was a socialist. He was a communist. He was in league with the communists. He was hoping for support from Soviet Russia and all of their satellites. That was part of the reason that he put forward the idea of a Palestinian state. It is a communistic plot. We've got to say no just for that.
And a made-up people in a made-up country.
Yes, all of it is made up. It's all a fraud. And who is, of course, the biggest supporter of a Palestinian cause? It's China. From Mao Zedong, when he took power, he libeled Israel as well as Taiwan as colonial outposts of the West, trying to tear down the global communist project. For Mao Zedong, he didn't spout off about Jews or this or that. He went after the fact that it's a Western country wanting to undermine the communist project. And he is correct. And this is a big reason why this Zionist movement is a big win for us, regardless of your sentiments about a Jewish state, whatever your views are on the rapture or biblical foundations. The fact is, a Palestinian step-by-step cult cause connection means that you're supporting a communist movement. And I've had some people who call themselves Trump or America First, and they get very angry when I point this out. But the fact is, if you are trashing the state of Israel, you're basically saying that you want a communist influence to win in the world. That is a fact. No matter, and Israel has had a right-wing government now for the last 20 years. Even the blue and white regime that came in briefly was center-right. They did not embrace socialism. They rejected communism. They rejected destruction of the family. They wanted more enterprise involvement, investment in their country. And part of the reason is because you've got Russian Jews who were under communism for decades. They moved to Israel and they say, we want nothing to do with communism in this country. That is a fact. You wave that Palestinian flag, you are waving a hammer and a sickle. You wave that Palestinian flag, you are supporting the Chinese Communist Party and their terrorist activities undermining our country. That is a fact. And it is still the case. The Chinese Communist Party, they still stand with the Palestinian cause. They are aggressively on the side of that. And Russia has kept its mouth shut. They try to play both sides. Iran, we know, is obviously in support of a Palestinian cult. They want a terrorist state that destroys Israel. You see the connection. And let me go back a little bit. Hugo Chavez gets elected president in Venezuela. This was disturbing. Right away, he cut off trade with Israel. The Jews of Venezuela, they fled their country. That is a bad sign. When your Jews flee your country, you're in trouble. That is bad. That is bad spiritually. It is bad economically. It is bad culturally. And that's exactly what happened. Venezuela, it was the biggest exodus of Jews. It was out of that. They either fled to Bolivia or Colombia, or they ended up going to Israel, or they went to the United States because they had to go somewhere. Now we turn this around. Venezuela has become a somewhat tolerable partner again, getting rid of Maduro. A lot of people have told me, oh, Arthur, you're making too much of this because his successor, his vice president, is now in charge. And yet, she has released political prisoners. She's opened up the markets. She's allowing for trade with oil. There is word on the street.
I think out of necessity. I don't think that's what she really believes. I don't think that's who she is. I think that she is just a wolf in sheep's clothing, and she's just waiting for the political tides to change, and then she'll be right back at it.
If we don't get
if she's still in power.
If we don't get a Rubio or a DeSantis, and I don't know about JD Vance at this point, that's another discussion. But if we don't get a good successor to Trump, she will try to do that. She'll try to out Maduro. That is a fact. I do believe that. But she has no choice. She has to play ball because President Trump has showed real leadership in supporting, even if he's not, I'm not saying he's the ultimate brainchild for this right-wing shift, but he helped make it possible, and he has helped support it. In fact, President Trump provided a broad credit investment. He bought a huge amount of currency, and I think that's what it was in Argentina. This was last year. Milei was facing a congressional wipeout. Like his party was going to be completely blown out in Buenos Aires. So he needed like a financial lifeline. So what we did is we invested money. It was like $20 billion. People were furious. They're like, what happened to America First? Why are you helping Argentina? Because what happened is Milei took the money, he invested it. We got $40 billion We made money. Milei was able to shore up his political power. He has a bigger majority now in Congress, which is now helping us. This is brilliance across the board. Scott Bessent deserves a lot of credit for this. The treasurer in our country, along with Trump. This is good. And Trump is doing that with Japan right now because their currency is in trouble. This is a win-win-win. It is not America last. That is BS. Going to the Zionism thing too. What really inspired me, Jose Costa, the guy in Chile. I mean, the previous left-wing government, they had cut off Israel. They were opening up channels to a Palestinian state. Jose Costa comes in, cuts off all the Palestinian crap. He actually set up an ambassador to Israel. So that's a huge thing. Milei, he made it very clear. He campaigned supporting Israel, campaigned on a Zionist platform. He's been to Israel. He has made speeches before the Knesset. And I was often wondering this, though. You know, he has such a pro-Israel platform. How come the embassy was still in Tel Aviv? I looked into it. The thing is that in Argentine law, it had the embassy had to be in Tel Aviv. That was a law. He couldn't just arbitrarily change it. However, he now.
Why would you establish a law about that?
Well, I mean, we had the law for years until the Clinton administration that our embassy was going to be in Tel Aviv. Then it was you can move it to Jerusalem when it's safe to do so. And of course, every president made excuses until Trump finally said we're going to do it, and he did it. So there you go. That's what it is. Milei has the power now and support. They can now move the embassy to Jerusalem. Done deal. This is big. The thing that really got me excited when it comes to the Zionist element was Abelardo Espriella. He literally said this. He's going to be installed. It'll be on Thursday. He will officially be sworn in as president. And he said, the first thing I will do is I am moving the Colombian embassy to Jerusalem. He's going to move it. That's the first thing he wants to do. Now, some people are going to say, well, what happened to make Colombia great again? This is ridiculous. This is Israel pandering. No, the fact that you have a country saying we want to be allied with this country and not with terrorists, not with communists, is a huge ideological shift. The country is not going to be run by cartels. It's not going to be run by terrorists. It's not going to be run by cocaine. It's not going to be run by Tony Montana saying, say hello to my little friend. It's going to be run by a conservative Catholic who says Christ is king and recognizes Israel's right to exist, and therefore Colombia's flourishing is inevitable. This is huge. And to be able to make such a bold statement that early is a massive win. Keiko Fujimori, she said the same things. We're opening up with Israel. We're moving forward on this. The shift, you cannot separate this. The rise in Zionism, the fall of communism. And that's a warning to us. Go.
Yeah, no, I agree. What happened to Brazil? Brazil had a good conservative president there for a bit. What happened?
Bolsonaro. So Jair Bolsonaro, yeah, he campaigned on a very strong platform. He campaigned on gun rights. Gun rights. He said, everybody, you can get a gun. I'm like, this guy wins. And I'll give him a little credit. Javier Milei has loosened the gun laws in his country. He's the only Latin American to done this. Even Bukele, he needs to work on that. I've been very critical. There's two things. Okay, you recognize Israel's right to exist. Do you allow your citizens to have a gun? Those are huge for me. And little by little, it's changing. Czech Republic has also changed too. But Argentina, now we've got the same thing here with Brazil. Now, here's the thing. Bolsonaro, this is sad. Breitbart even was discussing this. Bolsonaro started to get more cozy with China. It's unfortunate. He actually started to be okay with the COVID shot. He started to get kind of cozy with China. His party won the majority in the Brazilian Congress, even though he lost the presidency. So it wasn't like there was this big left-wing pushback. Conservatives continued to win at the congressional levels in Brazil. Okay,
good to know. I didn't know.
Lost. And thank you. And the good news is his son is stepping in. And his son, I am certain, has learned the lessons of his, the mistakes his father made, because Daddy Bolsonaro started getting kind of cozy with China, with the Belt and Road Initiative. This was not good. What needed to be is a complete breakaway from all that corruption. I am confident. Milei has already been campaigning for his son. Let me get his name. I think it's Daniel Bolsonaro. But let me check. I think it's not Jair. His son, Flavio. So there it is, Flavio Bolsonaro. He was a senator in
I am Flavio.
Flavio, as opposed to Fabio. He's not selling us butter. He's hopefully going to be selling freedom and a restoration of liberty.
I hope so too.
in his country, I think he's got a really good chance. Because, like I said,
Brazil is important.
Brazil is huge. That is
They're huge.
Yes. If you get
huge.
Brazil to shift, if it goes to the right with with all these other countries able to keep it to the right, so Bolsonaro, remember, he got elected in 2018. He was on his own. Bukele hadn't even been elected yet. Remember, he got elected in 2019. So Bolsonaro was on his own as the only conservative in the whole Latin American continent. Like the populist conservative, the Trump-aligned conservative. Now there's an environment of support and also pressure. So there's two sides to it. Cast, Fujimori, Novoa, Rodrigo Paz, as well as Bukele, they'll be able to push and say, this is what we want from you. You want to deal with us? You need to abandon this, this, and that. You need to go back to freedom, get rid of all the communism and all this other garbage. And I can't neglect Costa Rica. They elected an excellent, just a stunning lady, Laura Fernandez Delgado. She's a conservative. She is an abortion abolitionist. No baby killing at all. Protect the babies. None of this evil.
This is who? This is who now?
Her name is Laura Delgado. She's the president of Costa Rica. She was elected this year as well, also supported by President Trump. There's stuff I haven't even had a chance to talk about. I mean, Jamaica.
I love Costa Rica so much, and they're surrounded by just a whole ton of stupid. Nicaragua, and there's just so many other warring factions always having the military coup going on and all this kind of crap. Costa Rica has stayed above the fray, and I don't know how. They don't even have a military. They have like something like a 98.9 literacy rate.
Huge.
The people know how to read. They know how to write. They're very well educated, very intelligent, extremely friendly. I love Costa Rica so much. When I visited there for 10 days with some family, I went, oh my goodness. I think if I was going to live in any other country besides the U.S., this would be it. So it's really encouraging to me that it's going much more conservative. That's awesome news, man. And what's her name again?
Her name is Delgado, Lauren Delgado.
That's excellent, man.
That's it, Laura Delgado. And gun rights are freer. It's easier to own a firearm in Costa Rica.
Wow.
Now you got to still pass the test. So that's kind of a downer, but that's a lot better than like what you have in Mexico.
Well, they don't have a constitution. They don't have they don't have a first and a second and a third and any amendments, really, I don't think, that I know of.
They need to work
Maybe
on it. Everybody does. That's something I would like Trump to be more aggressive about, pushing y'all should allow your citizens to own guns. Have that discussion, move it that way. That's how you will also stop tyranny. Hello. This isn't just about stopping
cartels.
How to deal with cartels. Let them own let your citizens carry a firearm. And this is huge. And as you can imagine, the president of Costa Rica, she has a warmer relationship with Israel. Nasri Asfura of Honduras, another right-wing populist. He got elected. There's still some setbacks. Belize has issues. Nicaragua was back in the news, where you had Noriega saying there will be no more elections. I'm here forever. I bet there's probably going to be another arrest very soon. I think that could happen. I mean, after Maduro's arrest,
or another military coup.
There you go. I don't think it works anymore. I think this is the dying gasp of all these communist boomers. If we're going to use that term, we should be using it on them. Communism is a boomer thing in Latin America. I mean, all of these people from the 60s and the 70s pushing their collectivism, pushing their Che Guevara, that's not cool anymore. That's old.
Cuba,
that's
didn't
dated.
it?
It's cringeworthy. Cuba is forced to shift. Thank you, Trump. Again, just like the president, Delcy Rodriguez in Venezuela, Cuba is having to shift, not because they want to, but because President Trump cut off their oil. That was the key thing. And so now they have to liberalize. It's the only way. And that's the whole point. These diabolical, cartelized communist regimes, they propped each other up because they had the oil. And now that Venezuela is back in better hands with our purview, that has hurt all of the Latin dictators remaining. Big win for us. I didn't even have a chance to tell your audience. I mean, I didn't write about it, but I can share. Even Jamaica. Whoa, Jamon. Jamaica has had they've had a conservative government 3 terms in a row. This is unheard of in a parliamentary democracy in Latin America. 3 terms in a row, 3 elections in a row, a right-wing government. They call themselves the Liberal Party. That's how it is in the parliamentary system. Liberal is conservative. I mean, it's just confusing to us. They have had incredible economic reforms. Jamaica was one of the most crime-ridden countries in the world. You had people, you could visit Jamaica, you'd have like a 2-story building. There'd be a locked door, and then you want to go inside. If you want to go upstairs, there'd be another locked door. And then if you wanted to go into a person's room, there'd be a third locked door, because there was so much stealing, there was so much gang violence. All of that has been shut down.
I've got stories. I've broadcast live from Jamaica several times. I've got stories about Jamaica. That's encouraging. I'm glad to hear that. That makes me really happy.
You see the shift going on all over. And, it's
so many wonderful people there, and they deserve better. And I'm glad they're finally demanding it.
There it is. I really do connect this. There is spiritual revival happening all over the world. We know that's why Iran has had huge protests now. The Christian faith is growing. Mosques are closing in Iran. We see, Christian revival taking place throughout Latin America. As I mentioned, this is true even in the Caribbean. This is why you're seeing just the absolute demise and breakdown of communism as well. And the fact is, people will go,
it's growing here.
It is growing here. President Trump has been part of that revival movement here. He's been unafraid to talk about the gospel, unafraid to talk about Christ Jesus, unafraid to read God's word and point to our need for Christ, that he is the only king. And we see that restoration happening. We need to build on that. We need to build on that Christian revivalism. What we don't want is this, secularized nationalist bigotry that wants to collectivize everything. This is a problem that needs to be addressed. You have some of these young people, they like, oh, I love Pinochet, or I love General Franco. I'm like, these guys were fascist. There's a word I'd like to use, but can't. These are people that were contrary to their own countries. Yes, they stood up to communistic evil, but they brought their own evil. This is not the answer. And you know what? We've got to do a better job of fighting this. Latin America, incidentally enough, is now providing us the template, how to fight back.
Isn't that amazing? Who would have thought?
Yeah, I mean, it's turned around. I mean, just at my article, it was like a plea for restoration and not just managed decline. We have got to make free enterprise great again. We've got a lot of people talking about, and J.D. Vance is one of them. He wants more government welfare. He wants more tariffs. He wants more unionized power. These are antithetical to what
unionized power. Really, does he? I hadn't heard that.
Did not support right to work. He's all in for standing with the Teamsters. No offense, but the same Teamsters and the same longshoremen who wanted to shut down entire ports across this country. That is communist.
They're freaking communists for the most part.
It is communistic, and we have to have the courage to say something. You can have your unions, but you can't violate my property rights. That's where the line has to be drawn. You can have your union, but you don't get to violate my rights. You can have your union, but you can't tell me that I can't work. That's wrong. That is a violation.
And you can't force me to pay dues to be part of your club.
Yes. This is communistic, and we shouldn't.
But you're not going to work in a union shop unless you do. I know, because, again, I have experience with that.
Yep.
I'm afraid we're, in the interest of time, we're not going to get to talk about the other thing I wanted to ask you about, an article you wrote about the denial of the Holocaust.
Oh, geez.
Which is just shocking to me that people still will openly deny that, and it's gotten more and more prevalent. So let's save that for next time, my friend.
Yes,
it's a good topic, something to talk about, very important thing.
You bet.
Where do we find you besides Blogspot? A Shopper one, the letter A Shopper, SCHAPER, the number 1 .blogspot.com. That's a great place to go to see all of his articles. I suggest you read them. It's eye-opening. He's funny. You're a great writer. I really appreciate you. Where else can we find you?
Townhall.com, American Thinker. They've been very good to me. All of my articles detailing the right-wing shift in Latin America, they've given me prominence with that. American Greatness, they've really taken off and given me a great platform. And there's even a website in Southern California called Two Urban Girls. They've given me a platform. They post a lot of my stuff too now. So there's a lot of great places where you can read me.
Two Urban Girls. All right.
Yeah.
Thank you, partner. Talk to you soon, man. That's Arthur Shopper again on the show. Try and get him on at least once a week here, because he's always got some very insightful things. And thank you for supporting my show and sharing these shows. Facebook deleted all of my pages last year. and Instagram, which of course is owned by Facebook. So I don't have any way of letting those 40,000 people know I have a new show out. So you can help me so much just by sharing these shows once you watch them. And then when it posts on rumble.com/do not talk, it's easy to share from there onto your social media. And I would really appreciate it if you would. And if you would hit that like button more often, that like button right there helps with the algorithms. And the different platforms that I'm on here will go, hey, Charlie's getting some attention, getting some traction. Maybe we should promote him. So that's how you can help me. Liking, commenting, sharing. And going to my website and buying some stuff like this mug. Let's talk about politics and religion. And if Republicans go back to blue, oh, shoot, I'm going to have to start all over again. May God bless you and keep you. May God bless America. But most importantly, America bless God.